Hi everyone and welcome back. In this video, we'll explore the business model from the perspective of the final user, the farmer. We'll analyze how the farmer might decide between continuing to sell their produce as usual or opting to send part or all of it of their production to a cold storage unit like the one we're proposing. To do this, we'll review different scenarios where the share of production sent to the cold storage changes while adjusting key input parameters that influence the farmer profitability. It is important to note this Excel tool is primarily designed for cold storage operators. By stepping into the shoes of the farmers and collecting information through conversation with them, operators can estimate how appealing cold storage might be for farmers based on the pricing model they adopt. Okay, so let's look at the different scenarios one by one into this sheet, into the tab of this sheet. So the first scenario is estimating that the farmer is not storing any crops into the cold storage. And here we're defining some of the parameters. You can see all of the parameters that you can edit are in blue, while the one in black are a formula contained within that you can still review if you wish. And also you will notice that within some of the tabs we have, within some of the cells, sorry, there are some comments. Feel free to review them. They kind of give you some explanation of the figures estimated and the rationale of these figures. So what do we have here is we define the kilograms of production per year, and those are defined by the amount of wastage that the farmer has without cold room operation, the capacity of farming per year, the kilograms per day, the days in a year the farmer is active, and the percentage of usage of cold room by the farmer. Okay, and here we assume that the farmer has a capacity of 50% farming per year. Of course, you can adjust this. This is has a value on the 365 days of operation per day. And we assume that the farmer is producing 20 kilograms per day, but you can, of course, increase that value. This then yields, we have, of course, to define as well a selling price of the crops per kilograms. We assumed $2 per kilograms, but you can edit this. And this yields the revenues per year for the smallholder farmer. Okay. And as well, what we are considering here is that there is no agent taking a commissioning from the farmer. So you will see here, we reduce 0 from it. First scenario here, scenario A, is assuming that the farmer is storing 100% of the crops into the cold storage unit. And what we assume still is that even if there are some crops being stored into the cold room, there is still a percentage of wastage occurring, which we assume at 8%. This can be some of the crops may be stored within were of bad quality initially, or they've been badly positioned into the cold room, so they've been squeezed or whatnot. So we assume that there is still a percentage of wastage. What we also assume is that the price of the crop being sold, that is inside the cold room, has an incremental increase in price due to a better quality. And here we assume a 10% increase in value, but of course you can edit that value as you wish as well. So you can make it more conservative. You can also bring it to 0. Okay. Important to note is that here, the values that you define here for the capacity of farming per year, the kilograms per day, are fixed in these scenarios and scenario C as well, and the last scenario as well, because they compare it to your baseline. Okay. And then when we do the calculation, we also, of course, include the cost of cold storage for the farmer, and we subtract that from the revenues of the farmer per year. And this gives you a comparison between scenario A and the benchmark of not using cold storage of what is the farmer's income increase if they store 100% of their crops into the cold storage. Now, scenario C and scenario D are similar in the perspective here that we assume that the farmer is not storing 100% of their crops into the cold storage. So in scenario C, you have 30%. We made this equal to one of the scenarios defined in the key input sheet. But scenario D, you will see that you can alter this as you wish. Okay, and of course, you can copy paste or create more of those kind of cells to kind of see as the percentage increases or drops, what is the impact on the revenues of the farmer. Now, in this scenario here, you will see that we assume a crop spoilage There's a formula here that assumes what is the total crop spoilage between what is not being stored in the cold room and what is being stored in the cold room, assuming still at 8% spoilage for the crops that are stored into the cold room. And all other parameters are the same. And what we end up having here is what is the impact on the total revenue of the farmer. And you can see that if the farmer stores 30% of the crops, they still have about 17% increase in income estimated, given that the price increase also increases slightly. You can see if you bring it down to zero, it's a 6% increase. And here it's important to know that those parameters here will yield you in case the farmer is better off storing into the cold storage or is actually worse off to store into the cold storage. And the same here for scenario D, okay? So that gives you kind of a perspective if you speak to the farmer to try and actually visualize these data and understand what is the impact on the full revenues of the farmer. So I hope this sheet helps you as a cold storage operator understand how your services can boost farmers' incomes by reducing spoilage and increasing the sale price of fresh produce, but also, and more importantly, increasing the revenues of the smallholder farmer. And what is important here is really to build a bridge between the buyer and the farmer through your solution of cold storage. So many thanks, everyone. This tab has been designed to help to support cold storage operators understand how their services can boost farmers' incomes by reducing spoilage and increasing the sale price of fresh produce. We hope this is helpful. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Many thanks.